Hello retro gaming fans. So I've completed my first version of the Streets of Rage 2 ROM editor. This tool includes the screen replacer, text editors for various text throughout the ROM, and a Checksum Fixer. This way you don't have to go using an external tool. I've even included support for Syndicate Wars version 0.9. In a future release, I will include a tool that will help you replace music within the ROM, but more on that later. Let's go ahead and dive right in. Okay, so to start out, when you extract this, I would suggest extracting it into its own folder and copying over any templates that you've modified. So just copy the entire folders over into this one from the screen replacer, because the screen replacer is now incorporated into this program. And if you were to just dump all these into the screen replacer folder, while it will copy in and the program will load, it'll also overwrite the ones you've already modified. So let's go ahead and open this. And oops. Okay. Go into the guides folder, just like on the screen replacer. And I've made these that specifically go for this new program. We'll start with the original. And for the screen replacer, I have another video on it. I'll link it above and in the description. But I'm going to show the change that I made for the shimmer effect, so you don't have to go and modify it in Palettes of Rage unless you feel the need to. Okay, let's go ahead and check this in an emulator now. And as you can see, it shimmers through and goes right back to the base colors. No more shifting around and making Elmo's face blue. Okay, let's go on to the next section now. Okay, for the next section, we're going to go ahead and check out the first text editor, which is the story screens. Probably be easier to maximize it because this form is a little big. And for the sake of continuity, just pick the one that you've already modified with the screen replacer, and just, I guess you can give it a meaningful name. You can say version 2 of whatever ROM you're making. In this case, just, I'm going to put story. And we can put whatever we really want in here. And you'll notice that it always does capitals. That's because it only accepts capitals within the ROM. There's no character set for lowercase. And I've actually made a key over here on each of the forms that accepts text to show which characters are usable. And we'll even do the blue Sega that shows up in the title screen. You know what, we'll just copy that over and over again. Okay, let's insert this text. Quick and easy. Let's test that in an emulator. I suggest testing at regular intervals. Oops. Sega. Bet you like how I can't count. 5 lines, Ryan, 5 lines. But yeah, so there's this. Now, each line on here allows you to go up to, you know what, let me count them real quick. 34 lines. Okay. So with that out of the way, we'll go to the next text section. Kind of a small one. I'll just call that title text. And I mean, normally this line would say press start. Start game, how about that? There we go. Again, nice and quick. Try and catch that better. There we go. Start game, Brian Mcquinn. There we go. See, this will be a quick video. Hopefully. You know what I would suggest? Select all, copy, or do the same if you know keyboard shortcuts. Control A, Control C. Control A will do a select all, Control C will copy, and then we'll go to end screens. And in the input ROM, you will paste it in. This way all you have to do is name an output. Okay, so we have a key also of usable characters. Now over here it's different. The large text area, as it says below here, can only use alphabetical characters, A through Z, that is it. What this is each one is a heading, and they never intended for numbers or special characters to be used in those. And they also have 2 different text colors, and these are pulled as tiles. Anyways, you can pick yellow or white text that's typical in the end screen. And we'll go ahead and fill these out. Okay. This is another one that allows you to use the full length of the screen. The way this works though is I took the mapping and I redirected it to the end of the ROM, and then this writes this text to the end of the ROM, making it slightly bigger, which once you use a Checksum Fixer, it'll run in any emulator, no worries. I tested it out on BizHawk, on Kega Fusion, on Gens, and I believe the one that BizHawk used was Pico Drive. Anyways, let's go ahead and fill these out and go through. This is large text, that works. So we'll go ahead and fill this in. Again, it's a quick process. And again, we will copy this. The reason I do it this way where it clears those boxes is because you want to make sure that it's actually not just going to overwrite the last one. Say you were to enter the text into end screen 1 and then went to end screen 2 and tried to do the same thing, it would only modify end screen 2. At least this way you figure you're making a backup each time. So say you were to mess up one of them, you can just go back to that one and modify it. Okay, so just like number 4, I believe, yep, number 4, one missing, well, this one has 5 lines missing, but also I added the ability to put the cheat menu dialog, which I will show afterwards, into the end. Okay, now let's check this out. So I have a few save states here. I will rename these so you know which one is which, and I will include these with the download. There's the first one. The second one. The third one. This next one should have fewer text. Yep, that's the fourth. And the fifth. The sixth. Now the next screen is going to have this text that I was speaking of. Usually what it is when you set the hardest difficulty, it gives you an option for a little cheat menu. Okay. I apologize, I forget the name of the person who told me this and actually gave me the offsets of where and what value should be there in romhacking.net on my little blog for my project, but I will look it up and I will give credit at both the beginning and the end of the video to all those who have helped with this. Okay, let's move on to the next section. Character names. Now, since I forgot to copy over the other one, I'll just pick the last one I worked on. And I'll just call this high score, since that's the first part that it modifies. And 1 through 0. This part right here is actually the red underline. It underlines where it says high score at the top. That's pretty much it. So, just to show, yeah, sorry for not giving it anything meaningful, but honestly I just can't think of anything to put in right now. Okay, so for the first thing we're going to check is the high score screen. We'll leave that up there actually. Just drag this in here real quick. Name that again. High score. Should have known that. We will go ahead and sound is disabled, good. And load our save state at the end. Just kind of in a fast mode to skip to the end. Let's compare. So we have 1 through 0. The red line with the 11s at the end, Sega, and mine and my kids' names. Okay, so the next section of this is after the title screen selection. I'll show you what that is. be this right here. So this was 1-player, 2-player, dual, and options. Let's go into options menu and see that we've modified these two. And what else we got? Well, that was the options menu. Names above the health bars, let's check. Well, yeah, you gotta work on spacing these out properly. We'll go ahead and pick Andy. And, yep, that matches. Probably should have just put the kids' names there too, but whatever works, right? On to the next section. Other screens. Okay. Now, like this says, the program actually does redraw some tiles. What I did was I had to make W's available, and there was no way of doing that with the current character set. So I modified 2 characters to make the bottom portion of the W. And you know what? I will put a W right here after this just to show you. I also came up with a way to do Q's. Sorry, Andy, you had a Q in your name. And I moved things around so they work a little better. Go ahead and redo that. So there's a Q. And you can see up here my method of doing a W is this portion right here that it adds, so it can draw it. Now for the next portion of this, I'm going to show you the slight differences with loading Syndicate Wars. So let's go ahead and reopen this with a new guide. Rather, the Syndicate Wars guide, and this is for Syndicate Wars version 0.9. Too far again. Oh yeah, duh, going for guides, not ROMs yet. Okay, so I wanted to add real quick that I'm going to include this right here, which I made a BPS file, which you can just download a program called Beat from romhacking.net. I can link that below also. And it's similar to an IPS patch, but using the IPS patch it was basically the size of the new ROM. So this only takes the modifications that GSource made to the ROM and applies them to the US version. So you'll need the US version ROM and just use Beat to apply the patch to the ROM. That's it. Let's go ahead and, well, screen replacer, you'll notice that portraits is grayed out. If I'm not mistaken, which I could be, I'm going to double check, you can actually modify the individual portraits for each character in Pancake 2 when you load the Syndicate Wars ROM file in it. And I believe it's in the options menu when you select the properties of each character. I'm going to double check that. If you can't do that, then I will add a method of doing that here. as far as the rest of the screens go, it's exactly the same as the original ROM. Just modify the template, click which one you want to replace, and hit go. So we'll go into text editors. Story screen is exactly the same. Title screen is exactly the same. End screens, again, exactly the same. Now when it comes to character names, they're going to be slightly different. You notice that when I clicked other screen text, it brings up the character screen text because it doesn't address it the same way as the original ROM. Oops, wrong button. Now we'll bring up character names. Now bear in mind that these are each their own separate form, so if you load ROM in here, it will not, load over here at the same time. Now, there is no text bar right above the character portraits because there are 23 characters now, and it wouldn't really be feasible to have all of them above there, which is why this is now grayed out because it's not counted towards this ROM. Same thing with the names above the health bar is, it's not that they're not there, it's that they're handled differently, and that's where this form comes in. So if I were to click this, it just brings this form up. Now this would be for each character in order, and actually, normally in the ROM it would go across the top. Let's bring that up. Okay, so, starting out with Max, I have it going down this way, but it's, that's why I labeled each one with a name. Axel, Blaze, Skate, Adam, Gelsia, Donovan, Jack, Barbon, Electra, Y-Signal, Storm, Hanzo, Big Ben, Akuyo, Eagle, Jet, Zamza, Arbear, Abadede. I really do like to butcher names, don't I? Particle, Mr. X, and Shiva. And same thing as over there. Now, I'll show you in a minute when you modify these. So say I put my name and my kids' names again, and I'll just fill these out real quick. Alright, so I guess in my own laziness, I just couldn't think of any other names. We have Syndicate Wars, and we'll call this character names. That works. Put those in. Now I have to commend G-Saurus for his work on this because he did a spectacular job with this ROM. Okay, so you'll notice that the character cards down here, ones that are normally giant right next to them, not only are they smaller, but it's a simple text edit. Not only that, but when you go in-game, it also changes it above the health bar. It cuts off because of the score, but hey, it works, right? Okay, the last thing would be the Checksum Fixer. So let's go ahead and open up a different emulator. We'll go with BizHawk. And we're going to see exactly what happens when you load one that has not been fixed. Ooh, red screen. So that was end 6. Let's close this. Bring up the Checksum Fixer. Take it into that folder. Grab end 6. Checksum and ROM size have now been corrected. And let's go ahead and retest that out in the emulator. Ooh, it works. Look at that. That was, I believe, right? I think I said Pico Drive. Anyways, it's pretty much it for now. So the last thing I want to cover is the music inserter. I'm still working on it. I do know that there is a program that Yuzo Koshiro had come out with that he used to make the music for Streets of Rage 2. I believe also Streets of Rage 1's music was made using the same tool, and he was actually nice enough to post the source files for the music that he used to put the, or rather he created those source files to compile with that program to put into the ROM. And I used that to, I guess you could say, reverse engineer how the music is coded in there. And long story short, I am coming up with a way of taking a Midi file, converting it to MML, compiling it, and then reinserting into the ROM. By the time this video is uploaded, I will have the ROM editor in the queue for romhacking.net. I'm going to replace the screen replacer with the full ROM editor since it's included in the package anyway. If you don't want to wait for it to post on romhacking.net, I'll leave a link in the description to a copy of it on my Google Drive. I'll also include a BPS patch so you can patch the original Streets of Rage 2 ROM to convert it into Syndicate Wars version 0.9. There's a tool on romhacking.net called Beat, which you can use to apply the BPS patch. Just make sure to apply the patch to the US version of the original ROM. If you have any questions or concerns, I will link below to our social media groups where you can just leave a comment and just tag me in it, Ryan Mcquinn. Or, I also have linked below a blog for this ROM editor and for basically all my utilities that I've made. Well, thanks again for watching and have a good one.